My dear friend, I want to begin today with a simple question. When you look at your life right now, what do you see? Perhaps you see circumstances that feel fixed, challenges that seem immovable, limitations that appear written in stone. Let me tell you about a gardener I once knew. Every morning, he would walk through his garden, lamenting the poor soil. "Nothing will grow here," he would say, staring at the barren patches. Day after day, he focused on what was wrong: the weeds, the stones, the stubborn earth that refused his efforts. One day, a wise friend visited. Instead of looking down at the soil, this friend gazed up at the sun. "What magnificent light," he said. "What perfect conditions for growth." He handed the gardener a packet of seeds. "Plant these with your attention on what wants to emerge, not on what appears to be." The gardener, curious, followed this advice. Within weeks, his garden transformed. Not because the soil suddenly changed, but because he had learned to operate from a different plane entirely. This, my friend, is the essence of what I wish to share with you today. The true quantum leap in consciousness is not some mystical leap into the unknown. It is a logical, scientific ascent from one plane of thought to another. You see, we have been trained to reason from our conditions. We look at our bank account and conclude what is possible financially. We examine our relationships and decide what love is available to us. We assess our health and determine what vitality we can expect. This is perfectly natural, but it keeps us forever bound in what I call the chain of secondary causation. We are reasoning from effects and trying to create new effects from old effects. It is like trying to change your reflection by manipulating the mirror. The quantum leap I speak of is the conscious shift from the plane of effects to the plane of causes. It is the recognition that your present circumstances, however convincing they may appear, are merely the outward forms of previous mental states. They are not the creative power itself. Consider this carefully. Every condition in your life began as an idea. Your home, your work, your relationships, even your challenges. All were first thoughts before they became things. This is not mystical speculation. It is observable fact. The mistake we make is believing that because these thoughts have now solidified into conditions, we must work within their limitations. We try to improve our finances by focusing on our current financial state. We attempt to heal our bodies by concentrating on our present symptoms. We seek to change our relationships by manipulating the existing dynamics. But here is the liberating truth. The moment you withdraw your attention from these secondary causes and place it entirely upon the primary cause within yourself, you initiate an entirely new sequence of creation. Let me be very practical about this. When you have a desire, that desire is not random. It is the life principle within you seeking fuller expression. It is intelligence recognizing a possibility that wants to emerge through you. The conventional approach is to look at your current circumstances and ask, how can I make this happen given what I have to work with? This question immediately places you on the plane of conditions, where you must manipulate existing forms to create change. The quantum approach is entirely different. You ask instead, what is the spiritual reality of what I desire? You withdraw your attention completely from present appearances and place it upon the thing as it exists in its ideal form. This requires a fundamental shift in how you think about reality itself. You must recognize that the spiritual prototype of your desire already exists in perfect completeness. It exists in that realm where all possibilities are simultaneously present, where there is no time, no space, no limitation. Your work is not to create this reality. It already is. Your work is to recognize it so completely that you begin to vibrate in harmony with it. When this recognition becomes steady and unwavering, the spiritual prototype begins to draw to itself everything necessary for its material expression. This is how nature operates on every level. The oak tree is not created by the acorn's struggle against the soil. It is the natural unfolding of the oak's spiritual pattern through the willing cooperation of the material elements. The acorn does not need to know how this will happen. It simply needs to be what it is most completely. Now you might wonder, but how do I actually make this shift? How do I move my attention from conditions to causes? The first step is to understand what attention actually is. Attention is not mere concentration. It is the conscious direction of your spiritual energy. Where you place your attention, there you are investing your creative power. When you worry about your problems, you are giving your creative energy to the perpetuation of those problems. When you focus on lack, you are feeding the pattern of limitation. This is not punishment. It is simply law. To make the quantum leap, you must become very selective about where you invest this energy. Instead of giving attention to what you do not want, you must learn to dwell exclusively upon what you do want, not as something to be attained, but as something that is. Here is a practical method. Choose something you desire to see manifest in your life. Now, instead of thinking about it as a future possibility, think of it as a present reality existing in the spiritual realm. Spend time each day contemplating this reality, not trying to make it happen, not figuring out how it will happen, simply recognizing that it is. Feel the satisfaction of its completion. Experience the joy of its fulfillment. Rest in the peace of its perfect accomplishment. This is not imagination in the sense of fantasy. This is recognition. You are training your consciousness to align with what is spiritually true rather than what is merely physically apparent. As you do this regularly, something remarkable begins to occur. Your objective mind begins to receive intuitive impressions. Ideas come to you that you had not thought of before. Opportunities present themselves that were invisible when you were focused on limitations. These are not coincidences. They are the natural result of operating from the plane of causes rather than effects. When you align with the spiritual prototype, everything necessary for its manifestation begins to arrange itself around you. But here I must offer an important caution. The moment you begin to see these initial manifestations, there will be a temptation to drop back into conditional thinking. You will want to help the process along through your own effort. You will want to control how and when things unfold. This is where most people lose their way. They begin correctly by operating from the causal plane, but the moment they see results, they revert to managing conditions. This immediately breaks the connection with the source of supply and returns them to the limitations of secondary causation. The key is to remain steadfast in your recognition of the spiritual reality, regardless of what appears to be happening or not happening in the physical realm. You must learn to live from the inside out, not the outside in. This does not mean you become passive. It means you act from inspiration rather than desperation. You follow the intuitive promptings that come from your recognition of what is, rather than the anxious schemes that come from focusing on what appears to be lacking. Remember, the universal mind that creates everything operates by this same principle. It does not look at existing conditions and wonder what is possible. It simply is what it is, and everything else arranges itself accordingly. You have access to this same creative principle because you are not separate from it. You are an individualization of it. The same intelligence that moves the planets and grows the flowers is the very intelligence that thinks through your mind. The quantum leap, then, is the conscious recognition of your unity with this creative principle. It is the understanding that you do not need to overcome your conditions. You need to transcend them by operating from a higher plane altogether. When you truly grasp this, when you really see that your present circumstances have no power to limit what can emerge through you, you will have made the most practical discovery possible. You will have found the secret of conscious creation. Your old reality does not need to be fixed because you are no longer bound by it. You are creating from the realm of infinite possibility, where every good thing already exists in perfect completion, waiting only for your recognition to bring it into manifestation. This is not magic. This is science. The science of consciousness operating according to its own inherent laws. And you, my dear friend, are not a victim of conditions. You are a center of creative intelligence, capable of ascending to any plane of expression you can consistently recognize as real. The quantum leap awaits your decision to take it, not someday when conditions are better. Right here, right now, from where you are to where you truly belong. In the realm of causes, where you have always been the master of your experience.